I never imagined I would sit in a county courthouse waiting room, staring at legal documents that listed my own parents as plaintiffs, claiming ownership of my 2023 Ford F-150 Lariat, 8 years of 6 zero-hour work weeks, saving every penny from construction jobs and weekend landscaping work, all to afford the $82,600 truck I purchased with cash. The bailiff called my name. Standing up with trembling hands, I wondered how the two people who raised me could betray me so completely. 8 months earlier, life felt perfect. At 28 years old, I had worked construction for Peterson Brothers since graduating high school. What started as a summer job became my career, and I loved the satisfaction of building something solid with my own hands. The crew treated me like family, and my boss, Jake Peterson, always said I had the strongest work ethic he had ever seen. But I wanted more than just my regular paycheck. When I turned 22, I started Jackson's Weekend Landscaping, working Saturdays and Sundays to earn extra income. Every spare dollar went straight into my savings account. While my friends spent money on bars and vacations, I drove my beat-up 2009 Silverado with 300,000 miles and lived in a modest one-bedroom apartment. My dream was specific: a Ford F-150 Lariat with premium leather seats, panoramic sunroof, and the advanced technology package. I visited Thompson Ford dealerships so many times that the staff recognized me immediately. Randy, my salesman, initially thought I was just another young guy dreaming beyond his means. Most people your age finance these trucks over 7 years, Randy said during my third visit. Running his hand along the metallic blue paint of my dream vehicle, I shook my head. I want to pay cash. No payments. No interest. Just ownership. Rye's expression shifted from skeptical to impressed as I explained my financial plan. Every month, I calculated exactly how much I needed to save. I tracked every expense in a notebook, cutting costs wherever possible. Instead of eating out, I meal prepped on Sundays. Instead of buying new clothes, I shopped at thrift stores. My coworkers joked that I counted pennies like a miser. But I knew what I wanted. The test drives were pure torture and pure joy. Feeling the smooth acceleration, hearing the premium sound system, experiencing the heated and cooled seats made me work even harder. I picked up additional landscaping clients, worked overtime whenever Peterson Brothers needed it, and even helped neighbors with yard work for extra cash. Finally, after 8 years of sacrifice, my savings account reached $82. Lube. I called Randy immediately. Jackson, are you serious about this purchase? Randy asked, probably thinking I was pranking him. Dead serious. I can have a cashier's check ready by tomorrow morning. Walking into the bank to request that cashier's check felt surreal. The teller, Jennifer, had processed my regular deposits for years and watched my account grow steadily. This is incredible, Jackson, she said, preparing the check. Most people never save this much cash for a vehicle purchase. The next morning at Thompson Ford, Randy had my truck detailed to perfection. Every surface gleamed, and the new car smell was intoxicating. When I handed over the cashier's check, Randy grinned wider than I had ever seen. In 23 years of selling cars, I have never had someone your age pay cash for a truck this expensive, he said, shaking my hand. You should be proud of what you have accomplished. Driving off the lot, I felt pure euphoria. The truck handled like a dream, and every feature exceeded my expectations. I immediately called my parents, Bill and Susan, to share the news. Dad, I finally did it. I bought the truck. The silence stretched longer than normal. Which truck? Jackson, the Ford F-150 Lariat I have been saving for. Bosh Armayet. 600 paid in full. Another pause. That seems like an awful lot of money for a truck. My excitement deflated slightly. But Dad, I saved for 8 years. I worked weekends, overtime, everything. Well, I hope you know what you are doing, he said, his tone cool and distant. When I spoke to my mother, her reaction was equally puzzling. Jackson. Honey, are you sure you can afford such an expensive purchase? What about emergency savings, Mom? I still have money left over. I planned this carefully. It just seems very extravagant for someone your age. Your father and I never spent that much on a vehicle. Their responses confused me. I expected celebration, pride, maybe even excitement to see the truck. Instead, they seemed concerned, almost disapproving. When I offered to bring the truck over for them to see, they made excuses about being busy. I tried to shake off their negative reaction, but it lingered in the back of my mind. These were the people who taught me the value of hard work, saving money, and setting goals. Why were they not happy about my achievement? 2 weeks later, my father called with an unusual request. Jackson, your mother and I need to borrow your truck for the weekend. We want to visit Susan's sister in Phoenix, and our car needs some work done. Something felt off about the request. What kind of work does your car need? Just some engine trouble. Nothing major, but we do not want to risk breaking down on the highway. I hesitated. The truck was my pride and joy, and I had never let anyone else drive it. But these were my parents, and family helped family. I guess that would be okay. When do you need it? This Friday evening would be perfect. We will have it back Sunday night. Against every instinct, I agreed. Looking back, that decision changed everything. Friday evening, my parents arrived at my apartment to pick up the truck. My father inspected it thoroughly, asking detailed questions about the insurance coverage. You have full coverage. Right. What about comprehensive and collision? Of course. Dad, I have the best insurance money can buy. Why are you asking? Just want to make sure we are protected in case anything happens. His questions made me uncomfortable, but I attributed it to parental caution. I handed over the keys and watched them drive away in my beautiful truck. Saturday morning. My phone rang at 730. Jackson, it's your father. Quick question about the insurance. Does it cover rental car reimbursement if something happens to the truck? Why would you need a rental car? You were just driving to Phoenix and back. No reason. Just curious about the coverage details. The conversation felt strange, but I answered his questions and went about my day. Saturday afternoon. My mother called with an equally bizarre inquiry. Honey, we were wondering about the paperwork situation with the truck. Do you have the title with you? The title? Why would you need to know about the title? Oh, we were just curious. You know how these things work when you are driving someone else's vehicle. Mom, the title is in my name only. It is locked in my safe at home. Is there a problem? No problem at all. Sweetheart, just making conversation. By Sunday evening, anxiety gnawed at my stomach. My parents had not called to confirm their return time, and they were not answering their phones. I tried calling repeatedly, but every call went straight to voicemail. Monday morning, I called in sick to work and drove my old Silverado to their house. Their car sat in the driveway, looking perfectly fine. No signs of engine trouble or recent repairs. I knocked on the front door, my heart pounding. Jackson, my mother said, opening the door with forced cheerfulness. What brings you by? Where is my truck? Mom, you were supposed to return it last night. She glanced nervously over her shoulder. Oh, we had some car trouble on the way back. We need to keep the truck a few more days. Car trouble? Your car is sitting right there in the driveway. My father appeared behind her, his face defensive. We had trouble in Phoenix. Not here. We managed to get the car home, but we still need your truck for a few days. Dad, I need my truck back. I have work. I have responsibilities. It will just be a couple more days. So, family helps family. Right? The phrase stung because I had used those exact words to convince myself to lend them the truck. Something was very wrong, but I could not put my finger on what. I want my truck back now. My mother started crying, and my father's face hardened. Look, Jackson, we are in a bit of a situation. We used the truck as collateral for a loan. The world stopped spinning. You did what we needed money quickly. And the truck was sitting there. We put it up as collateral for $25. Ling, ling, ling. How could you do that? It is not your truck. My father's voice rose. We raised you, fed you, clothed you for 18 years. The least you can do is help us when we need it. Help you? You committed fraud. You cannot use someone else's property as collateral without their permission. My mother continued sobbing. We did not think you would mind. You have so much money, and we are struggling with what you never told me. You were having financial problems. My father looked away. Credit cards, mortgage payments, other debts. We are behind on everything. So, you stole my truck. We did not steal anything. We just borrowed it and used it to solve our problems. By forging documents to make it look like you owned it, the admission hung in the air. My parents had committed multiple felonies using my truck as collateral for a loan they obtained through fraud. The loan company now had legal claim to my vehicle, and my parents had no way to repay $25. Ling, ling, ling. Jackson, please. My mother begged. You can help us make the payments. We are family. You are asking me to pay for a loan I never authorized. Secured with a truck I bought with my own money. We raised you. My father repeated, You owe us. I stared at these two people who had given birth to me, raised me, taught me right from wrong, and realized I did not know them at all. The truck represented 8 years of my life. Every sacrifice I had made, every dollar I had saved, and they had stolen it without a second thought. I want my truck back, and I want it back now. We cannot get it back unless we pay the loan. Then pay the loan. We do not have $25. Ling, ling, ling. Then you should not have borrowed $25. 000, using property that was not yours. I walked away from their house, shaking with rage and betrayal. My phone buzzed with text after text from my mother, begging me to understand, asking me to help family. But they had stopped being family the moment they decided to steal from me. First thing Tuesday morning, I drove straight to my bank. Jennifer, the same teller who had prepared my cashier's check, looked concerned when I explained the situation. Jackson, this is serious. Your parents committed loan fraud using your vehicle as collateral? Do you have your title documents? Everything is in my safe at home. Good. Keep them secure. You will need them to prove ownership. She printed 8 years of bank statements showing my steady deposits, regular savings patterns, and the large withdrawal for the truck purchase. The documentation clearly proved I had earned and saved every penny legitimately. My next stop was the law office of Thomas Rodriguez, recommended by Jake Peterson. Rodriguez was a sharp-dressed man in his 50s who specialized in civil litigation and family law. Mr. Jackson, I have seen cases like this before, and they are always complicated when family is involved, he said. Reviewing my documentation, your parents have committed several felonies, loan fraud, forgery, and theft by deception. What are my options? You can press criminal charges, which would likely result in their arrest and prosecution, or you can pursue civil litigation to recover your vehicle and damages. What about the loan company? Rodriguez frowned. That is where things get complicated. Meridian Financial, the company that issued the loan, has legal rights based on the collateral agreement your parents signed. Even though the agreement was fraudulent, they acted in good faith. So, they can keep my truck. Not necessarily But you will have to prove the fraud and fight for your property. This could take months. The next day, Rodriguez arranged a meeting with Margaret Chen, Meridian Financial's regional representative. Chen was a no-nonsense woman who showed zero sympathy for my situation. Mr. Jackson, I understand your position, but we have a valid loan agreement secured by the vehicle in question. Your parents provided all the necessary documentation. Documentation they forged? That is a matter for the courts to decide. Until then, we have legal possession of the collateral. I never authorized this loan. I never signed anything. Again, that is between you and your parents. We followed proper procedures based on the information provided. Rodriguez leaned forward. Miss Chen, surely you can see that Meridian Financial was a victim of fraud here as well. Perhaps, but that does not change our legal position. We want either full payment of $25,000 or surrender of the vehicle. Walking out of that meeting, I felt trapped in a nightmare. My truck was being held hostage because my parents had committed crimes and the loan company did not care about the fraud as long as they got their money. That evening, my phone rang constantly. Bill and Susan called every few minutes, alternating between begging and threatening. Jackson, please be reasonable. My mother pleaded. We are family. Families stick together. When I finally answered, her voice was desperate. If you press charges against us, you will destroy this family forever. You already destroyed this family when you stole my truck. We did not steal anything. We just needed help, and you were not offering it. I was not offering it because you never asked. You lied and committed fraud instead. My father grabbed the phone. Jackson, you are being selfish and ungrateful. After everything we have done for you, this is how you repay us. How I repay you? By working 80 hours a week to buy a truck with my own money? By showing off your wealth while your parents struggle? The accusation hit like a physical blow. Showing off, I saved for 8 years to afford that truck. While we were falling behind on bills, losing our house, drowning in debt. And you bought an $82,000 truck. Because I worked for it. Because I earned every penny. You could have helped us instead. How was I supposed to help when I did not know you needed help? You should have known. You should have offered. The conversation was insane. They blamed me for not psychically detecting their financial problems while simultaneously punishing me for achieving my goals. Later that week, Rodriguez called with devastating news. Jackson, your parents have hired an attorney and filed a countersuit. They are claiming you embezzled money from them over the years to afford the truck. They are what Sharon Walsh is representing them. She has a reputation for aggressive tactics. They are seeking full ownership of the truck. Plus $20. 0 inches damages for alleged theft. I stared at the phone in disbelief. Not only had my parents stolen my truck, but now they were claiming I had stolen money from them. The people who raised me to be honest and hardworking were accusing me of crimes I never committed. Through my apartment window, I could see my old Silverado parked on the street. Rust spots and dents marking its age. That truck had served me faithfully for years, while I saved for something better. Now my dream truck was locked away while my parents tried to steal everything I had worked for. Rodriguez scheduled a meeting for the following Monday to plan our defense strategy. As I hung up the phone, I realized this was no longer about a truck. This was about my entire future, my reputation, and my right to keep what I had earned through honest work. My parents had forced me into a war I never wanted to fight, but I was going to fight it, and I was going to win. Armed with foreclosure documents Rodriguez had found through public records, I drove to my parents' house for what I hoped would be a final attempt at resolution. The house looked smaller somehow, and I noticed the lawn needed attention. Susan answered the door with red-rimmed eyes. Jackson, thank goodness you are here. We need to talk, and we need to be honest. Bill appeared in the hallway, his face haggarded. Come in. Some. I spread the foreclosure papers on their kitchen table. Why did you not tell me you were losing the house? My mother collapsed into a chair, her composure crumbling. We were ashamed. We did not want you to know we had failed. Failed at what? My father sat heavily across from me. At everything. I lost my sales job 8 months ago. I have been pretending to go to work every day, but I spend my time at the library or the park. 8 months, Dad. Why did you not tell me? Because I was supposed to be the provider? The strong one. How could I admit to my son that I was a failure? Susan wiped her eyes with a tissue. We have been living on credit cards, taking cash advances to pay the mortgage. Everything spiraled out of control. I looked around their kitchen, seeing details I had missed before. The appliances were older than I remembered, and the countertop showed wear. Bills were stacked in neat piles, held down by paperweights. How much do you owe in total? Bill's voice was barely a whisper. Between credit cards, the second mortgage, and late fees, about $90. Ling, ling, ling. The number was staggering. Sure. Ling, ling, ling. We kept thinking things would turn around. I kept applying for jobs, going to interviews. We used credit to maintain our lifestyle, thinking it was temporary. Susan's voice cracked. When you bought that truck, spending more money than we made in 2 years. Something inside us broke. What do you mean? We felt like failures as parents. Our son had more money than we did. It was not supposed to work that way. My father's hands clenched into fists. We raised you, sacrificed for you, went without things so you could have opportunities. And then you spent $82,000 on a truck like it was nothing. It was not nothing. I saved for 8 years. While we struggled in silence, too proud to ask for help. I felt anger and sympathy warring in my chest. I would have helped if you had asked. We should not have had to ask. Susan said, her voice rising. Family should look out for family without being asked. So you decided to steal my truck instead of talking to me. Bill stood up abruptly. We did not steal anything. We used family resources to solve a family problem. Family resources. It was my truck. Bought with my money. Money you earned while living in our house. Eating our food. Using our support system for 22 years. The argument was spiraling into the same circular logic, but now I understood the deeper resentment. My success had somehow become proof of their failure. I can help you now, I said, trying to find middle ground. We can sell this house, find you something smaller, create a budget. My father's face turned red with rage. You think you can just swoop in and fix everything? You think you are better than us now? I do not think I am better than anyone. Then why are you trying to control our lives? Susan joined her husband's anger. You want to force us out of our home, the place we raised you, just so you can feel superior. I want to help you avoid foreclosure. We do not need your help. Bill shouted. We need our son to show some loyalty and respect. Loyalty. You stole my truck and forged loan documents. We borrowed family property to solve family problems. Yeah. I read. The conversation had become absurd. No matter what evidence I presented, what solutions I offered, they twisted everything into attacks on their pride or proof of my arrogance. You owe me an explanation and an apology, I said, standing to leave. We owe you nothing. Susan snapped. You owe us for 18 years of raising you. I walked toward the door, my heart breaking. I cannot help people who will not admit they did anything wrong. Then do not help us. Bill called after me. But you will not get that truck back either. Outside in my old Silverado, I sat in their driveway and cried. These people had taught me my values, my work ethic, my sense of right and wrong. How could they be so completely wrong about this situation? At work the next day, Jake Peterson noticed my distress immediately. Jackson, you look terrible. What is going on? I explained the situation. leaving out no details. Peterson listened without interruption, his expression growing more serious with each revelation. Son, I went through something similar with my brother 5 years ago. He needed money for gambling debts and forged my signature on a business loan. What did you do? I pressed charges. It was the hardest thing I ever did, but it was the only way to protect myself and teach him there were consequences. Did it work? Peterson's smile was sad. He went to rehab, got his life together, and eventually paid me back every penny. We have a relationship now, but it took 3 years of him proving he had changed. My parents think I am being selfish. Jackson, enabling someone's bad behavior is not love. It is cowardice disguised as kindness. That afternoon, Rodriguez called with more bad news. Walsh has filed additional motions, claiming you manipulated elderly parents and stole money from them over several years. She is painting you as a predatory son who took advantage of their generosity. Elderly? My dad is 54 and my mom is 52. I know, but Walsh is building a narrative. She has also requested financial records going back to when you were 18. Can she do that? She can request anything. Whether the court grants it is another matter. When I got home, I found a voicemail from my Uncle Carl, my father's brother. Jackson, your parents called and told us what you did to them. I am disappointed in you. Son, family is family, and you should be ashamed of yourself. More calls followed. Cousin, aunts, family, friends, all convinced by my parents' version of events. In their story, I was the ungrateful child who refused to help desperate parents and then had them arrested when they tried to solve their problems. My reputation in our tight-knit community was crumbling, built on lies. My parents were spreading to justify their crimes. But the worst call came from my father the next evening. I hope you are happy. Jackson, your mother is in the hospital. The stress of fighting her own son gave her a heart attack. The hospital waiting room smelled of disinfectant and fear. Susan had suffered what doctors called a cardiac event brought on by stress and anxiety. As I sat in uncomfortable plastic chairs, guilt and anger battled in my mind. Rodriguez met me there with a stack of legal documents. Jackson, I know this is difficult timing, but Walsh has accelerated her filings. She is using your mother's hospitalization to paint you as someone who attacks family members. My mother is sick because she committed fraud and got caught. Not because I defended myself. I agree. But Walsh is spinning it differently. She has filed for an emergency injunction to prevent you from pursuing criminal charges while your mother recovers. Doctor? Patricia Williams emerged from the cardiac unit, her expression professional but compassionate. Your mother is stable. The event was relatively minor, but she needs to avoid stress and make significant lifestyle changes. Can I see her? She specifically asked not to see you? I am sorry. The rejection stung, but I had expected it. Rodriguez guided me to a quiet corner of the waiting area. We need to focus on building our defense. The bank has provided 8 years of your financial records, and Peterson Brothers has given us your complete employment history. What about the loan company? Meridian Financial is cooperating. They want this resolved as much as we do. They have provided copies of all the fraudulent documents your parents submitted. Over the next week, we assembled our evidence like building a fortress. My tax returns showed consistent income from construction work and my landscaping business. Bank statements proved every deposit, every savings milestone, every legitimate dollar I had earned. Peterson provided character references from clients, coworkers, and suppliers who had worked with me over the years. His letter to the court was particularly powerful. Jackson Miller has worked for Peterson Brothers Construction for 10 years. In that time, he has never missed a day without calling, never failed to complete a project on time, and has earned the respect of everyone who knows him. His integrity is unquestionable, and his work ethic is unmatched among young people I have employed. But Walsh was not sitting idle. She began contacting my friends, co-workers, and former clients, fishing for information that could damage my reputation. Jackson. Someone called asking questions about you and your landscaping business, said Maria Santos, one of my regular landscaping clients. She wanted to know if you ever overcharged or did shoddy work. What did you tell her? The truth. That you are the most honest, hard-working person I know. But Jackson, what is this about? Explaining the situation to clients and friends was humiliating, but their support was overwhelming. Every person Walsh contacted provided glowing character references instead of the dirt she was seeking. Meanwhile, my relationship with Amanda deepened as she witnessed my integrity under pressure. We had been dating for 6 months. But the crisis revealed her true character. Jackson. I watched my parents go through a nasty divorce when I was 16. I know what family legal battles look like. And I know the difference between right and wrong. You are doing the right thing. It does not feel like it when my mother is in the hospital. Your mother is in the hospital because she and your father made terrible decisions and got caught. That is not your fault. Amanda's support meant everything. But the stress was affecting my work performance. I made a measurement error on a Peterson Brothers project that cost the company $2. 0 inches wasted materials. Jake Peterson called me into his office the next morning. Jackson, you are human. Everyone makes mistakes under pressure. But I cannot have you working construction when your mind is somewhere else. My heart sank. Are you firing me? I am giving you paid administrative leave until this legal situation is resolved. The company has a fund for employees dealing with family emergencies, and you qualify. Jake, I cannot accept charity. It is not charity. It is an investment in a valuable employee who is going through temporary difficulties. Peterson's generosity was humbling. But it also gave me time to focus entirely on the legal battle. Rodriguez hired private investigator Carlos Mendez to dig deeper into my parents' finances. What Mendez discovered was shocking. Jackson, your father has been working under-the-table construction jobs for 2 months while collecting unemployment benefits. That is fraud. Are you sure I have photographs of him working job sites? And I spoke to the contractors paying him cash. What else? Your mother has a secret savings account with $8,000 from selling family antiques and jewelry. She has been hiding assets while claiming poverty. The evidence of my parents' deception kept mounting. Mendez found internet search histories showing they had researched how to use someone else's vehicle as loan collateral. Text messages between them discussed teaching Jackson a lesson and making him share his wealth. Most damaging of all, Mendez discovered that Walsh had been coaching my parents to expand their false claims against me. She told them to claim you stole money over several years. Not just that you refused to help them, Mendez explained. She is manufacturing a case that does not exist. Rodriguez prepared our countersuit meticulously. We were seeking return of the truck, payment of all legal fees, and damages for defamation and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Jackson, your parents have forced us into a nuclear option, but given the evidence we have, I believe we can prove not only that they committed fraud, but that their attorney has been encouraging them to lie. The night before our final preparation meeting, I drove to my parents' house one last time. The foreclosure notice was now posted prominently on the front door, and the yard was overgrown with weeds. Susan answered the door, looking frail and older than her 52 years. Jackson, please, can we not find a way to work this out? Are you ready to admit what you did wrong and make it right behind her? Bill appeared with a face full of rage. There is nothing to admit. We did what we had to do for survival. You did what you did out of pride and resentment. Get off our property. He snarled. You are no son of ours. Walking away from that house, I realized my parents were more committed to their false narrative than to the truth or our relationship. They would rather lose everything than admit they were wrong. Rodriguez's investigation had uncovered one final devastating piece of evidence that would change everything. Carlos Mendez's final report contained the smoking gun we needed Hidden in credit card statements and bank records was proof that my parents had already spent most of the $25,000 loan on luxury items rather than necessities. Jackson, look at these charges, Rodriguez said, spreading receipts across his desk. A 7-day cruise to the Caribbean for $4,000 purchased 2 weeks after getting the loan. A diamond bracelet for your mother. Armayuan. Babe. Home theater system. Senmayuan. Ling ling ling. They said they needed money for mortgage payments and basic living expenses. They spent less than $6,000 on actual bills. The rest went to items they wanted but could never afford. The evidence destroyed their claims of desperation. While Susan was in the hospital claiming stress from fighting her own son, she had been wearing a diamond bracelet bought with money stolen from me. This proves they were not desperate victims trying to save their home. They were opportunistic thieves who saw your success as something they deserved to share without earning it. Mendes had also uncovered evidence of Walsh's coaching. Recorded phone calls showed her encouraging my parents to expand their false claims against me. She told them to say you had been taking money from them since you were 18. She helped them create a timeline of alleged theft that never happened. Can we use that in court? Absolutely. It proves both fraud and suborning perjury. 3 days before the hearing, I attempted one final reconciliation with my parents. I drove to their house with a comprehensive settlement offer prepared by Rodriguez. They could drop all false claims against me, return my truck, and accept my help restructuring their debts. I would not press criminal charges, and I would loan them money to avoid foreclosure if they entered financial counseling. Bill answered the door with Walsh standing behind him. Mr. Jackson, Walsh said before I could speak, any communication needs to go through me. I am trying to offer my parents a way out of this mess without going to court. Your parents have made their position clear. They want what is rightfully theirs. Rightfully theirs. They stole my truck. Walsh's smile was cold and professional. Your parents invested 18 years in raising you. They consider your success partially theirs. My success belongs to me because I worked for it. That is a matter of opinion. Behind Walsh, I could see my parents standing in their living room, surrounded by the luxury items they had purchased with stolen money. The home theater system dominated one wall, and Susan wore the diamond bracelet, even though she was supposedly recovering from a stress-induced heart attack. Bill, Susan, this is your last chance to do the right thing. My father stepped forward, his face hard, with pride and resentment. The right thing is for you to take care of your family like we took care of you. I offered to take care of you. You chose to steal from me instead. We chose to claim what we were owed. You were owed nothing. You chose to have children, and that came with responsibilities you fulfilled because it was your legal and moral obligation. Susan's voice was bitter. So, we get nothing for 18 years of sacrifice. You get the satisfaction of raising a son who became successful through hard work and honesty. You get to be proud of what you accomplished as parents. We get to watch our son ignore our needs while spending money like water. Spending money I earned over 8 years of saving. Walsh interrupted the exchange. Mr. Jackson, this conversation is inappropriate. Please leave. I looked at my parents one final time. Seeing strangers wearing familiar faces, I tried to save this family. You chose to destroy it. Walking back to my truck, I felt something shift inside me. The guilt and confusion were gone, replaced by clarity and resolve. These people had taught me right from wrong, then abandoned those principles when it suited them. Rodriguez was waiting in his office with our final preparation materials. How did it go? They are committed to their lies. Walsh has convinced them they can win. Good. That means they will not accept a reasonable settlement, which gives us justification for pursuing maximum damages. What are our chances? Rodriguez's confidence was unshakable. Jackson, I have been practicing law for 28 years. I have never had a case with evidence this overwhelming. Your parents committed multiple felonies, lied to attorneys, and wasted stolen money on luxuries while claiming desperation, and Walsh, she will be lucky if she does not face disciplinary action for suborning perjury. The night before court, I sat in my apartment looking at 8 years of financial records, employment documents, and character references. Every piece of evidence told the same story. A young man who worked hard, saved money, and achieved his goals through legitimate means. My phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. "Tomorrow, you get your truck back and your life back. I am proud of you for fighting for what is right." Peterson had called earlier to wish me luck. "Son, you are doing what every honest person should do when faced with fraud and theft. Do not let anyone make you feel guilty for protecting yourself." Even my old clients had sent messages of support. Maria Santos had written, "Jackson, you landscaped our yard with such care and precision. That same integrity will carry you through this legal battle." As I fell asleep, I thought about the 8-year journey that had led to this moment. Every early morning, every overtime shift, every weekend spent working instead of relaxing had brought me to this point. I had earned the right to own that truck through honest labor, and I would not let thieves steal it. Regardless of what DNA we shared, tomorrow, justice would finally be served. The courthouse was packed with family members, friends, and supporters when I arrived that morning. Amanda squeezed my hand as we walked past my Uncle Carl, who refused to make eye contact. Some family relationships might never heal, but I had learned to value the people who supported truth over blood ties. Judge Patricia Harrison presided over the hearing with stern efficiency. She had reviewed all the evidence in advance and clearly had little patience for frivolous litigation. Rodriguez presented our case methodically. Like building a house from the foundation up, he started with my employment record, showing 10 years of consistent work at Peterson Brothers and 6 years of successful landscaping business. "Your Honor, the evidence shows that Jackson Miller earned every dollar he saved through legitimate employment. Bank records confirm regular deposits matching his payubs and business income." Peterson took the witness stand and testified about my character and work ethic. "Jackson is the most reliable employee I have ever had. He has never missed work without calling, never failed to complete a project, and has earned respect from every client and coworker. His integrity is absolute." When Rodriguez presented the truck purchase documentation, the legitimacy was undeniable. The dealership sales records, cashier's check, insurance documents, and title registration all proved I had bought the vehicle legally with my own money. Then came the devastating evidence of my parents' fraud. Rodriguez displayed copies of the forged loan documents, complete with fabricated signatures, claiming I had given them the truck as a gift. "Your Honor, these documents were created by the defendants to defraud Meridian Financial into believing they owned Mr. Miller's vehicle." Walsh attempted to object, but Judge Harrison overruled her immediately. "Counselor, I have reviewed these documents extensively. The fraud is obvious and well documented." Carlos Mendez testified about his investigation, presenting evidence of my parents' luxury purchases with the stolen money. Defendants claimed they needed the loan proceeds for basic living expenses and mortgage payments. However, credit card records show they spent over $19,000 on cruise vacations, jewelry, electronics, and other non-essential items. The judge's expression grew increasingly stern as she reviewed the receipts and photographs. When Rodriguez presented the recorded conversations between Walsh and my parents, the courtroom fell silent. "Your Honor, these recordings prove that defendant's attorney coached them to expand their false claims against Mr. Miller. She encouraged them to allege theft that never occurred." Walsh's face went pale as her own voice played back clearly, instructing my parents to claim I had been stealing from them for years. Judge Harrison's voice was ice cold. "Counselor Walsh, I will address your conduct separately after this hearing." Bill and Susan took the witness stand, looking defeated before they even began testifying. Under Rodriguez's cross-examination, Their story collapsed completely. Mr. Mila, you testified that your son stole money from you over several years. Can you provide any evidence of this alleged theft? Well, he should have been helping us financially. That is not what I asked. Do you have evidence of actual theft? He was selfish with his money. Again, do you have evidence of a theft? Yes or no? No. So, you lied in your complaint to this court. Bill's voice was barely audible. We thought it was true in spirit. Rodriguez turned to Susan. Mrs. Mila, you testified that you needed the loan proceeds for basic living expenses, yet evidence shows you spent $2,800 on jewelry and $4,000 on a cruise vacation. Can you explain this discrepancy? Susan started crying, but could not provide any coherent explanation. Judge Harrison had heard enough. I have presided over family disputes for 15 years, and this case represents one of the most clear-cut examples of fraud and theft I have encountered. The evidence overwhelmingly proves that defendants committed loan fraud using property belonging to their son. She turned to address my parents directly. Mr. and Mrs. Mila, you have committed multiple felonies against your own child. You forged documents, defrauded a financial institution, and then compounded your crimes by filing false allegations against the victim of your theft. Your Honor, Bill interrupted. We are his parents. We raised him, and that makes your crimes more despicable, not less. Parents are supposed to protect their children, not steal from them. Judge Harrison's ruling was swift and comprehensive. I hereby order the immediate return of the 2023 Ford F-150 Lariat to Jackson Miller, who is the rightful and legal owner. Defendants are ordered to satisfy the fraudulent loan with Meridian Financial within 30 days or face criminal prosecution. Furthermore, defendants are ordered to pay all of plaintiff's legal fees and court costs, totaling $38. Ling, ling, ling. Finally, I am awarding damages to Mr. Miller for defamation and intentional infliction of emotional distress in the amount of $15. Ling, ling, ling. Miss Walsh, you will remain after this hearing to discuss potential disciplinary action for suborning perjury. As the gavel fell, I felt 8 months of stress and anger drained from my body. Amanda hugged me tightly while Peterson clapped me on the back. Son, you fought for what was right and won. That takes courage. My parents sat at their table, looking stunned and defeated. Susan was crying, but Bill stared straight ahead with the same stubborn pride that had caused this entire mess. Outside the courthouse, Rodriguez shook my hand with genuine satisfaction. Jackson, justice was served today. Your integrity and perseverance paid off. What happens next? Meridian Financial will release your truck immediately. Your parents have 30 days to pay their fraudulent loan or face criminal charges. Given their financial situation, prosecution is likely. That afternoon, I drove to Meridian Financial's lot to reclaim my truck. Seeing it again after 8 months felt surreal. Randy from the dealership had arranged for professional detailing, and it looked exactly as I remembered. Driving home in my Ford F-150 Lariat, I reflected on the journey that had brought me to this moment. The truck represented more than transportation. It symbolized the principle that hard work and honesty would be rewarded, that people could not simply steal what others had earned. Over the following weeks, my reputation in the community was fully restored as the truth spread. Uncle Carl called to apologize. Along with other family members who had believed my parents' lies. Jackson, we should have known better. Your character speaks for itself. Peterson promoted me to project supervisor. Recognizing that I had proven my integrity under the most intense pressure possible. So, anyone can be honest when it is easy. You showed honesty when it cost you everything. And that is the kind of character we need in leadership. My relationship with Amanda deepened as we both realized we had found partners who would stand by each other through any crisis. Jackson, watching you fight for what was right taught me what kind of person you really are. That means everything to me. 3 months later, I visited my parents' house one final time. They had lost their home to foreclosure and were living in a small apartment across town. I found them looking older, defeated, and bitter. "I came to offer you one last chance at a relationship," I said, "but it has to be based on honesty and mutual respect." Susan looked up hopefully, but Bill's face remained hard. "We do not need anything from you. I am not offering money. I am offering forgiveness if you can admit what you did wrong and commit to rebuilding trust." "We did nothing wrong," Bill insisted. "We tried to solve our problems, and you destroyed our lives. You destroyed your own lives by committing crimes instead of asking for help." Susan reached out tentatively. "Jackson, maybe we could try counseling, family therapy." Bill stood up abruptly. "We are not begging our son for anything." I realized that some people would rather lose everything than admit they were wrong. My father's pride was more important to him than our relationship, and my mother would follow his lead. "The door is always open if you change your minds, but I will not allow you to abuse me or anyone I care about ever again." Walking away from that apartment, I felt sad, but not guilty. I had offered them every possible chance for redemption, and they had chosen bitterness over growth. 6 months after the court victory, I was promoted again at Peterson Brothers and had saved enough money to put a down payment on my own house. Amanda and I moved in together, building a life based on honesty, hard work, and mutual support. The experience had taught me that family is not defined by blood relationships, but by love, respect, and shared values. Peterson had become more of a father figure than my biological father. Amanda had shown more loyalty than my parents ever had. The friends and co-workers who supported me during the crisis had proven to be my real family. My 2023 Ford F-150 Lariat remained a symbol of what could be achieved through dedication and perseverance. Every time I drove it, I remembered the 8 years of sacrifice that made it possible, and the 8 months of fighting that kept it mine. The deepest lesson was about self-worth and boundaries. I had learned that protecting yourself from people who claim to love you is sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself and them. True love does not require you to accept abuse, theft, or manipulation. Some relationships cannot be saved when one side refuses to acknowledge wrongdoing or change destructive behavior. But walking away from toxicity creates space for healthy relationships to flourish. As I write this story, my parents have never apologized or admitted wrongdoing. They lost their house, damaged their credit, and destroyed relationships with extended family members who learned the truth. Bill eventually found another sales job, but their financial situation never recovered. Sometimes I wonder if they ever think about the path not taken, the relationship we could have had if they had simply asked for help instead of stealing. But I have learned that you cannot save people who refuse to be saved. My life today is built on the foundation of honest work, genuine relationships, and clear boundaries. The truck in my driveway represents not just personal achievement, but the principle that integrity will be rewarded even when it seems like the whole world has turned against you. Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and doing what was right? How did you handle a situation where people you loved tried to take advantage of your success or generosity? I believe that standing up for yourself teaches others how to treat you, even when those lessons are painful for everyone involved. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it encourages you to value your own hard work and never let anyone steal what you have earned through honest effort. Please like this video if it resonated with you. Subscribe for more real-life stories about overcoming family challenges. Share it with anyone who might be facing similar difficulties, and leave a comment about your own experiences with setting boundaries in family relationships. Remember that your worth is not determined by what others take from you, but by what you refuse to let them steal. Stay strong, work hard, and never apologize for achieving your dreams through legitimate means. Until next time, keep building the life you deserve. In the end, Jackson won back everything that truly belonged to him. not only his 2023 Ford F-150 Lariat, but also his reputation, independence, and confidence in his own judgment. The court found overwhelming evidence that Bill and Susan had fraudulently used Jackson's truck as collateral, forged documents, fabricated accusations against their son, and spent much of the $25,000 loan on luxuries rather than the necessities they claimed they desperately needed. Judge Harrison ordered the truck returned immediately, required Jackson's parents to satisfy the fraudulent loan, awarded Jackson $38, 0 inches legal fees and court costs, plus $15, 0 inches damages, and confronted Attorney Walsh over her role in encouraging false allegations. Once the truth became public, relatives who had previously believed Bill and Susan's version of events began apologizing to Jackson. His professional life also recovered. Peterson recognized the integrity Jackson had demonstrated throughout the crisis and promoted him. While Amanda remained beside him and their relationship became stronger, Jackson nevertheless made one final attempt to preserve some connection with his parents. After they lost their house to foreclosure and moved into a small apartment, he offered them forgiveness and the possibility of rebuilding their relationship if they admitted what they had done, and agreed to establish a relationship based on honesty and mutual respect. Susan showed some willingness to consider family counseling, but Bill remained consumed by pride and continued insisting that they had done nothing wrong. Jackson finally understood that he could leave the door open without allowing his parents to continue manipulating or abusing him. He walked away sad about the relationship they could have had, but no longer guilty for protecting himself. 6 months after the court victory, Jackson received another promotion at Peterson Brothers, saved enough for a down payment on his own house, and moved forward with Amanda, creating a life centered on honest work, trust, loyalty, and mutual support. His friends, co-workers, Amanda and Peterson had demonstrated through their actions that family could be defined by more than blood. Meanwhile, Bill eventually found another sales job. But Jackson's parents never fully recovered financially and never apologized or accepted responsibility for what they had done. Their choices damaged their credit, cost them their home, and fractured relationships with relatives who eventually learned the truth. Jackson's Ford F-150 remained in his driveway as a reminder of the 8 years he had sacrificed to earn it and the 8 months he had fought to protect it. What began as a dispute over a truck ultimately forced Jackson to confront a much deeper truth. Loving relatives did not require surrendering his property, dignity, or boundaries. He could offer help, forgiveness, and even another chance, but he could not force people to accept responsibility or change by refusing to surrender what he had honestly earned. Jackson finally stopped allowing family loyalty to be used as justification for theft and manipulation, and he moved forward, surrounded by people who respected both him and the life he had worked so hard to build.